a song written by Swami Kriyananda entitled If You're Seeking Freedom. You can check in your books to see if the words are in there. It's a really fun song, and the words go by quickly, so if you have them in front of you, it's more easily understood. And for those of you who know anything about the different chakras, see if you can see any correlation between the verses and the different chakras.
If you're seeking freedom in a revolution, oh, if you're seeking freedom, you won't find it there. For once the guns stop blazing, you'll find it amazing how the world can drag on just as before. If you're seeking freedom in a marvel mansion, oh, if you're seeking freedom, you won't find it there. For even when it's sunny, you'll be counting money, keeping up that showcase your face lined with care. And if you're seeking freedom on a throne of power, oh, if you're seeking freedom, you won't find it there. For though men all obey you, what if they betray you? Tense you'll be and waiting for foes everywhere. But if you're seeking freedom, cast away desire. Why barter like a beggar? You've wealth everywhere. For never can you buy it, grasp and you'll deny it. Freedom can't be hoarded, it's free as the air. And if you're seeking freedom, seek it on the mountains. Got sunlight on your shoulders, the wind in your hair. For there's no one can hold you, boss about or mold you. Once your heart is free, you'll be king everywhere. For there's no one can hold you, boss about or mold you. Once your heart is free, you'll be king everywhere.
Light, weekly commentaries on the Bible and the Bhagavad Gita by Swami Kriyananda. In this week's reading, this is week 41. Victory demands the courage of conviction. Truth is one and eternal. Realize oneness with it in your deathless self within. The following commentary is based on the teachings of Paramahansa Yogananda. Jesus Christ said in the Gospel of St. Matthew, chapter 10, "Think not that I am come to send peace on earth. I am came not to send peace, but a sword. For I am come to set a man at variance against his father, and the daughter against her mother, and the daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law. And a man's foes shall be they of his own household. He that loveth father and mother more than me is not worthy of me, and he that loveth son or daughter more than me is not worthy of me. And he that taketh not his cross, and followeth after me, is not worthy of me. He that findeth, that is to say, that clingeth to his life, shall lose it. And he that loseth, in other words, that giveth up his life for my sake, shall find it." God tests the firmness of our faith. The sword described here is the sword of discrimination. The struggle Jesus describes is not a war against unknown enemies, but the struggle with our own attachment to all that is nearest and dearest to us, humanly speaking. Ultimately, it is a war against the ego itself, and against anything with which we surround ourselves to bolster the ego's fragile sense of security. When Yogananda, as a boy, fled to the Himalayas to embrace a life of solitary meditation, he was apprehended by his older brother, Ananta, and brought home again. At a certain point, before he would accept defeat, he whispered to his friend Amar, his companion on the flight, "Let us slip away when opportunity offers. We can go on foot to Rishikesh." But Amar, whose brother had accompanied Ananta, had turned pessimist, disclaiming any intention of continuing their adventure. Yogananda's memorable comment on Amar's refusal was, he was enjoying the familial warmth. The spiritual warrior rejects that familial warmth. Rather, he claims the whole universe as his home. As the Bhagavad Gita puts it in the 14th chapter, unaffected by outward joys and sorrows, or by praise and blame, secure in his divine nature, regarding with equal gaze a clod of mud, a stone, a bar of gold, impartial toward all experiences, whether pleasant or unpleasant, firm-minded, untouched by either praise or blame, treating everyone alike, whether friend or foe, free from the delusion that in anything he does, he is the doer. Such a one has transcended nature's triune qualities. Thus, through Holy Scripture, God has spoken to mankind. Om, Om, Om.
Just a little security here. Good morning and welcome to Sunday service. It's for those who don't know me, I'm Swami Bharati. This is my friend Lorna, and it's our joy to be with you today. I don't say that lightly. You may know that there have been studies done that show among the list of things people fear, public speaking is somewhat higher on the list than fear of death. I think that for Lorna, it's somewhat lower on the list. But I have to tell you, it's true. By now, it is a joy to be here with you. And I make up the Sunday service schedule, and I keep putting myself on periodically. And then I'm always thinking, what was I thinking? And even on Friday, I was talking to Pavani, and I was going, oh, whine, and I said, well, maybe I'll break my leg, and I won't have to do it. But then, at some point, I get over myself, and then, as the chant was saying, when thy song flows through me, when I can get out of the way even a little bit, and let the love of God, the joy of God flow through me, to the extent that I'm able, then it really is a joy. I've been a teacher for many years, and I taught primary for a long time, and so I feel like every time I get up here, it's an opportunity for show and tell. So I'll have my little bits. Oops, sorry, I'm thumping on my microphone here.
You take it. Whoop.
Oops.
Oh, now we know.
That part I didn't need to bring with me. No wonder the bag's so heavy. Yes, thank you, Lorna. Yeah, okay. I don't
Okay.
need this one either. Yeah, thanks.
We need that one. And that one.
It's my
Okay.
Cannon Beach book bag. A wonderful thing to have. Okay, so I want to begin with a reading from Whispers from Eternity, which is Yogananda's book of prayer demands and poems. And this is number 168. In the dawn of awakening, I beheld dewdrops of repentance gathered and resting on thy many-petaled lotus feet. In those dear dewdrops, my soul cleansed itself in the waters of pity and caused my despondency to be dispelled by showers of thy blessing. May the petals of all our past, present, and future karmas, born in the dawn of our first appearance in human bodies, busily active in the noon of our intense worldly involvements, and drooping sadly in the night of our growing disillusionment with this world, may all open up to reveal the tenderness of thine ever-present love and compassion. Lord, I ask this of thee. Bury seeds of thy blessings in the prayer-prepared soil of my heart. Then let them grow into plants of divine realization, bearing fruits of infinite happiness in thee. Our reading today, as is usual, is from this book, Rays of the One Light. And it's amazing that there's a whole year's worth of reading in this one little volume. Readings both from the Bible and the Bhagavad Gita on topics where the readings have a similar intent. Earlier, there was another book called Rays of the Same Light, where each one of the readings was developed a little more fully, and it's 3 volumes this size, so you can see that it's more extensive. And then along came, at some point, this wonderful volume called The Promise of Immortality. And this one volume has half the year's worth of these same topics expanded upon. Now, unfortunately, only goes halfway through the year, so today's topic is not in this volume. And Swami thought he might someday get around to writing the other companion volume, but that didn't happen. But I often like to, just on an ongoing basis, see what the topic is for Sunday service and then go into one of these other volumes and just read a little more, get a little background for myself on what's going on. So when I was looking in this book on this week's topic, it's a little different title, and it just gives a little different flavor to the whole thing. This was The 2 Sides of Renunciation and How They Affect Every Devotee. And the Bible reading was called The Need For Austerity. So when I was talking to David earlier in the week about what songs we might have for Sunday service, I was saying, it's all about austerity and so forth. And then I realized that, well, yes and no, you know, how things are. It's all in how we look at things. We can look at something and see it as real austere and probably therefore somewhat unpleasant and so forth, or we could just look at it in a more neutral way. Yogananda always said, all circumstances are neutral. It's just our attitude toward them that make them seem good or bad. Well, I could really see that in a lot of cases, and for a really long time, I couldn't quite believe it of other things. It's like, okay, these are neutral really, but not this. This is bad, or this is really good. However, I'm willing to accept, at least at this point, that they are all neutral. As I was doing that second chant, you may have noticed at one point, instead of the phrase, praise is sweet and blame a dream, I started with blame. And that's because when I learned that chant, I learned it actually from Mary Kretzmann, who's the head of the Ananda Healing Prayer Ministry at the village, well, throughout worldwide, I guess now. Anyway, she was saying, when you really get into the feeling behind that chant, here it is, it's when thy song flows through me, then, you know, life is sweet and death is just a dream. But she said, you know, when you really get into it, death is sweet. Doesn't matter the circumstances. That flowing through us of divine love and joy is just there no matter what the circumstances may be. So they had made a little habit periodically of singing the whole song in reverse. So death is sweet and life a dream. And that one for me, blame is sweet and praise a dream. That was a little more challenging for me, but I just practiced it a lot, so of course then, in the moment, what comes out, you know? One of the things that in the Festival of Light, those of you who have heard it before, and if you haven't, you will today too, because we do it every week, there's one part in it that says, even a little practice of this inward religion will free one from dire fears and colossal sufferings. And I used to think, of course that's what I wanted to think too, but I used to think that what that meant was once you started a little practice of this inward religion, once you started really meditating and, especially if you're doing Kriya Yoga, then what would happen is your life circumstances would all just be jolly. Bad things weren't going to happen to you anymore. And what the fact of the matter seems to be, at least in my experience, is that the outward circumstances don't change. We all have our karma. We as a group have a group karma. The world has a karma. Things are going to happen. But what does change, where we get rid of the dire fears and colossal sufferings, is in our attitude. So if we're living in divine love and joy and peace and harmony, we don't have anything to fear really. And if we don't have anything to fear, we don't suffer. Suffering is really mostly about that fearfulness and the contraction that comes with it. So it's really all, bottom line, about letting go of our attachment to have things in a certain way and going with what is, being confident that Divine Mother loves us unconditionally and is going to give us whatever we need that will bring us to our highest selves, that will help us gain freedom. Same sort of thing with positive thinking. I used to think I'd always look at positive thinking, and part of this was just, the culture as I was growing up. Positive thinking meant that you thought that positive things were going to happen to you. Good things would happen to you, and you would take that view, and you could also use that to bring good things to you. You'd visualize what it was you wanted, a car or whatever. You could have your picture up on the wall and think of it a zillion times a day and visualize it, and you would get it. And that's true. You can. Although I think, gosh, what a waste of all that great visualization when you could be visualizing, joy, freedom. Let's go for the, gusto here. And one story that from my own life where I wasn't thinking of this as positive thinking, but it actually was. About 25 years ago, I was having a health challenge, health opportunity, and I ended up growing a 16.5-pound tumor in my abdomen, and needless to say, I wasn't feeling real well. I was living also in rural Alaska where there's a health aide in the village who can take your pulse, and that's probably pretty much it. So I ended up flying into Bethel, which is 90 miles away, and they kind of poked around and said, we're sending you to Anchorage. So they sent me to Anchorage, and I saw some doctors there. And so finally I was talking to this gynecological surgeon who was going to do surgery, and he said to me repeatedly, I'm not saying this is cancerous, but, do you have some place to be where you could get follow-up treatment should you need it? So, I know what he's thinking, obviously. And so I decided to come to Portland because I had a sister who was living here who had been a nurse forever. So I thought, okay, I can stay with them for however long I need to and so forth. So, of course, the natural thing to do at that point is to start worrying. It's like, what if, it'll be this many days before I can get there, this many days before I can have surgery, what if. And I decided then and there that I wasn't going to worry, because I thought, well, you know, worry is always such a waste of time, because if whatever you were worried about happens, it happens. If it doesn't happen, you've just wasted all that time being all, you know, fearful and contractive and miserable, and you didn't need to be. So I thought, okay, I'm not going to worry, because I'll wait and see what's going on, and I'll deal with it when I have to. Of course, and I would stop worrying. And about 3 seconds later, you know, I'd be worrying again. Well, what if, oh no, da-da-da, you know. But I was just very firm, and I didn't even, you know, I wasn't on this path yet. I wasn't familiar with it. I'd been looking for something, and I knew that there was something greater. I didn't have any details yet, but I could just instinctively feel that it was better for me to just take things as they came and not go there with it. So it was an amazing experience for me, because I had to over and over again, in the beginning every few seconds, and later on it started extending. It'd be a few minutes or a few hours that I wouldn't be worried about it. As it happened, when I got to Portland and finally saw the surgeon here, he said, oh, I know what this is. It has very low malignancy potential. And I'm thinking, well, and he agreed, nothing that big is benign exactly, but nevertheless, it was something that I, in fact, didn't need to worry about. So for me, it's just realizing that with positive thinking, as with austerity, or expressing the courage of our convictions, or as it was saying in here in the last bit, you know, unaffected by outward joys and sorrows, by praise or by blame, so forth. It's our attitude that makes the difference. It's our experience of something greater than ourselves. When we experience the love of God, that just comfort, that support in whatever we're doing. And when we start feeling that, I don't even know what to call it. We were talking a little bit earlier about how, you know, the storms on the surface of the ocean that can just frazzle you, that we always have the option to go somewhere else, to go to a more positive place. It doesn't mean that circumstances will change. They might not. But in any case, our attitude, our beingness with it will be different and astonishingly more pleasant. I would like to just end with another short reading from Whispers. Oh, I know what I wanted to show you, my other prop. So glad I remembered. This was not that same health opportunity. This was a later health opportunity, but this appeared on my doorstep one day, and I just think it's amazing, and I really like visual imagery and so forth. It's the way I learn and remember things. Isn't that sweet? It's a swan, and of course, Paramahansa means supreme swan, and there's a infant just riding on the swan's back, being carried along in complete security. And that, I think of this, I keep it, you know, on a shelf at home where I can see it frequently, but even when I'm not looking at it directly, just having that image and knowing that that is in fact the truth, that Divine Mother, Heavenly Father, cares for us and carries us along. We do our bit, and grace supports us along the way. Stay. I attuned my life with thine. Now my life has become a long, unbroken inspiration. Thy fountain of bliss refreshes and delights me night and day, whether I be wakeful, fast asleep, or dreaming fondly of thee. Oh, what has become of me? Delight on overwhelming delight. Endless, indescribable thrills of divine delight spray unceasingly over me. O aged nectar, wine of centuries, I found thee at last and will taste of thy sweetness forever, forever, forever.
To continue with another song by Swami Kriyananda, this one entitled Walk Like a Man.
Walk like a man, even though you walk alone. My court approval, once the road